Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Pickswise. I'm Alex Glaze, joined by Jared Smith. Jared, before we get into today's slate of sports and look ahead to an exciting weekend, I want to talk to you
Mm.
about your Yankees and that
Oh boy.
epic ninth inning meltdown. The rare Clay Holmes meltdown. 4 runs given up in the ninth. Just take me through your evening watching your Yankees and how you're feeling about the Yankees moving forward, because you were saying before the show, this is kind of like a precursor of what you're feeling in your gut for what's going to come later on in the fall.
Yeah, we were having a spirited debate about fandoms, Yankees fandoms, team fandoms, and just how we
Your
view
fandom
our
has been
own
questioned.
teams.
I just want to throw that out there. You've been
Yeah, no,
questioned.
it has. And listen, I get it. I mean, based off of the evidence that is being supported off my betting profile, you would question my Yankees fandom. I've got a Justin Verlander Cy Young ticket. I've got an Astros ticket to win the American League pennant. And I have no exposure to the Yankees really on a nightly basis. I don't really bet them that much at all. That's because they're overvalued. They were overvalued last night. They were $3 favorites. It was a pretty tidy game. I do think 3-0 is not, over. We've seen 3-run comebacks in the ninth inning before. We've seen 6-run comebacks in the ninth inning before. But with Clay Holmes and the Reds offense, you wouldn't expect that. But he just didn't have it last night. And I don't want to say that he's going to continue to not have it every night, but his numbers have been so good in the first half. And how many postseasons has this guy pitched in? Now things are going to tighten up. Do I think he's going to blow every save down the stretch? No, but I think that was his, I don't know if that was his first blown save of the year, but he hasn't blown many. I'm willing to bet he blows more in the second half than he does in the first half, and we're already up to one because technically the Yankees are in the second half of their schedule right now. So I'm not buying the Yankees prices on a nightly basis. So you can't bet on them, which means you have to fade them. And if you faded them last night and you got I think it was plus 250, plus 260 with the Reds, I mean, you're very fortunate, but you're sitting pretty after that nice win. I think the Yankees are just a team that I would be fading in the second half. From a betting perspective, I don't think they're going to be a winning team above the ROI, even mark.
I think you are also while what you're saying makes complete sense, I think you're giving yourself a little too much credit for being that logical. I think this is also an emotional hedge for you, right? Like, you don't want to have
But
your wallet and your heart on the line every night with the
it's
Yankees,
true.
right? Like, that's
I
emotional. I
can't
think
be
that's why you want
upset
to
on both fronts. The Yankees win the World
exactly.
Series. They go to the World Series. I'll be happy. If they lose and it's the Astros, I'll have a little bit heftier
You'll still
wallet.
be, you'll have a little
Sure.
bit of comfort. There'll be something you can hold on to. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, before we get into today's show, make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel. We do this show every day, or most days, at 10 a.m. Let us know in the comments on YouTube what you're thinking, what picks you're on, any questions you have. We'll probably get to them at some point during the show. Make sure you download the Pickswise app, available on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. And of course, make sure you are subscribed to Wise and Shine, the Pickswise morning newsletter. You get all kinds of great information sent right to your email. The link is in the description on the YouTube stream if you are watching on YouTube right now. Big show today. We're going to talk some college football. Nick Saban making some waves with some comments in the college football world. So anytime Nick Saban says something, we got to talk about it. We're going to talk some golf with Diane Knox Ballas. And we're going to talk some baseball because we are in the dog days of baseball, and there will always be plays to talk about. And then we're going to finish things off with our plays of the day. So without further ado, Jared, let's bet it, and let's start with college football. Nick Saban is saying that mega conferences are probably here to stay. Let's just start there. Do you agree? Because I think what we're seeing right now, I don't even know if we can call these conferences anymore because we're talking Big Ten, Pac-12, and there's going to be way more than 10, 12 teams in these conferences when it's all said and done. Just what are your thoughts on mega conferences and how we're seeing the college football landscape shift in a dramatic way?
So conferences don't matter anymore, in my opinion. They haven't mattered, I think, in a few years. We know who's in we already know that one, if not two SEC teams are going to be in the playoff every year. So why not just consolidate that and make it a little easier to sift through some of the madness? Because the arguments we get every November, December is a one-loss SEC team better than an undefeated Pac-12 random conference, et cetera, et cetera. let's eliminate that and just put the teams that matter in the same conference and just let them battle it out. So they play each other and we have games against games, head to head. The conferences are just these old rickety ships that don't move the right way anymore. We need to renovate them and we need to consolidate them because let's be honest, in every conference, there's one or two teams that have a chance to go to the playoff every year, and then there's everyone else. And the everyone else doesn't compete, and it doesn't compute to keep them all in the same conferences as the teams that can compete. Indiana and Northwestern and, Arizona State, like these teams are not going to the playoff anytime soon. Why are they competing with the USCs, UCLAs, the Ohio States, the Michigans, et cetera, every year? The Alabamas, the Georgias. Like, we don't care really what some of these Missouris do. Like, it doesn't make sense to have Missouri in the SEC. It doesn't make sense to have these bottom feeders in the big conferences anymore. Blow it up, consolidate it. Nick Saban, as usual, 100% spot on.
But that's not what we're seeing. We're not seeing consolidation. We're seeing teams like UCLA join the Big Ten. And while we're talking about college football here, I think bigger picture, if we're talking about student athletes, just think about the UCLA baseball player that midweek is going to have to travel to Rutgers to play. Just how that throws off their schedule, what they do. I mean, this is no longer, you can't, the argument for amateur athletics is dwindling day by day. I mean, it's just going to be really interesting to see how these things develop, how the view of amateurism changes, and how these players are going to be compensated because they're not student athletes anymore, right? Like they are genuinely driving the machine and generating a lot of revenue for the universities because at the end of the day, when we're bringing the conversation back to football, it's all about the TV deals, right? Like you're running to the SEC, you're running to the Big Ten because of the TV deals that they have in place right now. And that's why we're seeing reports of the ACC trying to get out of its deal with ESPN because ACC teams are scattering too. So it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how this all shakes out over the next couple of weeks. But now that kind of brings me to my next question. What do you think when you see powerhouses in the Pac-12 like UCLA running to the Big Ten, or you see teams running to join the SEC? What are your thoughts when you see that?
I think that is the start of the consolidation. It takes time. Like it's not just going to happen one fell swoop. I would love to see it just get blown up like a building does when they start a new construction on that site. Unfortunately, the slow wheels of justice will take time for that consolidation. I think we saw a big boost in it. Like that was a pretty shocking move, USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten. That was the first real shot across the bow. Like the consolidation is going to be coming maybe a little bit faster than it had in prior years, where it was more of a slow drip, like a Texas A&M going to the SEC. A slow move. Like that was a very slow move. This was a big, two major powerhouses in the Pac-12 just completely jumping ship and going to a conference that makes no geographical sense. You are right. The baseballs, the volleyballs, the softball, those athletes are going to have a tougher time of this, but that's what college football is. It is the driving force behind everything, and that is going to be what impacts the moves the most. We're already seeing the amateurism erosion in this country. The NIL deals prior to this move with UCLA and USC have already started to expedite that process. So again, it's going to take time. What the model you see today and this season is not going to be what we see in 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. We have to be patient. We have to, just like a baseball season, if we're betting it, don't take the first month and make it like that's going to be the whole year. We just have to let the process play out. It has started to play out. This was a big, gap that we bridged this offseason. And I think next season, the year after, it'll continue to start, getting closer and closer to that mega conference model that we will see at the end of the rainbow. But we're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do. But I think it's a positive move. I think USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten is a net positive for college football, for college basketball, and for college sports in general as we start to adapt a more congruent model with, mega conferences.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. Just like it'll always be Heinz Field to me, UCLA will always be in the Pac-12. I don't care where they're playing. Always Pac-12 to me. All right, let's move on and talk some baseball. And before we get into any of our picks, let's give a shout out to our Pickswise writers on the website because they are on an incredible streak right now. 12 straight hits with their Nerfy or Yerfy picks. I mean, Mark Lammy's given out a couple of Yerfys on the website today, so I don't believe you have any. I don't either. But if you're looking for any plays in that space, definitely head over to Pickswise.com and see what Mark is on. 12 straight. Just, I mean, incredible. I think what is our longest streak was what, 7 plays of the day? Did we get? No, you didn't get 8.
Plays
I don't think
of
I've
the
got
day
8.
we're at 7. So Mark has them today. Keith Schmelter and Caleb Wilfinger were the other 2 MLB editorial writers that were contributing to that streak as well. I believe Caleb's individual streak is 8, and Keith is responsible for 4 of the 12. And then today, Mark is trying his hand. I won't give the picks away, but there are 2 of them on the site right now. And I already
That's
bet
even
them.
more impressive.
I'm not giving them out for you.
Imagine you give out a couple plays. Let's do like a team. We're combining like just plays of the day streak. You go on a little run, and then you pass the torch to Lauren. She goes on a run and keeps it going,
Exactly.
and then you pass the torch to me, and then I just blow it. Like, can you imagine the pressure's on Mark today? But definitely
the pressure is on Mark Lammy today.
The pressure's on Mark. No pressure, Mark. The picks are already in.
No pressure, Mark. But I'll be honest, I do like his 2 picks today. I do my morning scan with my sheet. The Nerfy every day at Coors Field, the Nerfy shows value because of just what the odds are compared to what the total is. It is showing value today. Personally, I'm not betting the Nerfy at Coors Field today. We hit it last night. I tweeted, I wasn't on the show yesterday, but I did tweet it out. I liked the pitching matchup last night with Gomber and Clevenger. I don't like it as much tonight. Musgrove's okay, but Chad Kuhl against the Padres scares me. He gave up a run in the first inning against San Diego earlier this season, and overall 9 earned runs in his last 2 starts. So Chad Kuhl's been anything but cool in his last couple of outings. So I'm going to abstain from the Nerfy at Coors Field tonight. The only run first inning bets I would recommend are the ones that Mark Lammy has on that best bets column, which I would go to Pickswise.com. Consume that today because they've been very, very hot.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to talk about my baseball play later on because it's my play of the day. You have a walk this way parlay and a couple other walk props you're looking at. So why don't you talk about those?
Yeah, so we're going to do something different today. I've had a brutal stretch of PODs in general, plays of the day, not pods. And usually, and we've talked about this on the show, I really struggle with, if I have 2 or 3 bets, I bet a unit on all of them for the most part. It's hard for me to distinguish what is the actual play of the day. So I'm going to let you, the people, decide what the play of the day is. I have 2 walk props. They're both relatively priced the same. I feel equally good about both of them, but I don't really know or care which one's the play of the day. Maybe you do. So now we're going to put a poll. I think Justin's going to put a poll on the site. On the YouTube.
Are we doing this on the site, like in real time?
Chat.
So at the end of the show,
on the YouTube chat. On the YouTube chat, I think we're putting a poll. And yes, the YouTube chat. Thank you, Justin. And we will let you pick which one will be the play of the day. We've been doing this on the Discord, and it's been pretty hot. Like the Pickswise, give credit to Pickswise Nation. They know what they're doing. So here you go. Here are your 2 walk props that I really like today solo. Joe Ryan of the Twins, over 1.5, facing the Brewers today. This is an afternoon game, so get this one in early. Just a 31% hit rate for Ryan this year, but this is just his first 13 starts of his career. So the first 13 starts, the first half of the year, there was no book on Mr. Ryan. Now there's a book. And he went over in his last start against the White Sox, who are, this year a pretty low walk rate team. Ryan at home today, this is a Twins home game, and he's a little bit more volatile at home, walking 3 batters per 9 than he is on the road, just 2.03. And again, the Brewers are one of those teams that I absolutely would be betting over on walk props lately. 5 of the 8 right-handed starters this month have gone over 1.5, 13 of 19 in June. So over the last 60 days, 45, 60 days or so, we've seen this Brewers team really percolate with their walks. So Joe Ryan, even odds, plus 100 over at DraftKings. Lucas Giolito, this is the one that's the hit rate, over 1.5. Laying just 5 cents, though. 73% hit rate for Giolito this year. 11 of 15 starts for Lucas have gone over 1.5 walks. If you widen the sample size to last year, 60%, 28 out of 47. And so when I look at the Guardians team, that's the team he's facing today. They're not a high walk rate team on the year, but all three starters against the White Sox in this series, this is a very important series in the American League Central, have gone over 1.5, including Dylan Cease and Lance Lynn. So my reasoning for that is things are tight in the AL Central. 4 games in the loss column separate the top 3 teams, Twins, Guardians, White Sox. So these games matter now that we're into late July and the standings are tight. The bats get a little bit more patient. You're trying to grind out at bats, get the starter out of the game later. So with Giolito, he's faced the Guardians a ton. It's a division team. I feel that 1.5 at this price is a very fair number. Plus, we might get Tony La Russa doing something stupid like intentionally walking Jose Ramirez on an 0-1 count like he did 2 days ago. And that counts for a walk. So, again, that could happen. I don't expect it to happen, but it was a bizarre situation 2 days ago with Tony La Russa just decided to walk Jose Ramirez for no reason. So Giolito, Ryan, over 1.5. Again, they're both priced relatively the same. Even odds on Ryan, minus 105 on Giolito. You, the people, get to decide what's the play of the day.
I didn't even ask if I'm allowed to vote, but I just voted. So, I mean, okay. I'm not going to tell you who I voted.
No, you're allowed to vote.
I voted for, but I voted.
I didn't vote either. We already have 14 votes.
The polls right there.
Pretty cool.
The poll's right there, so I'm going to vote. Give out your parlay before we move on to golf.
Yes, walk this way parlay very quickly. I will breeze through this. I've been cold with these. I've lost 4 in a row, but still up like 40% ROI because we're being very disciplined. We're going with an under for our first one. Josiah Gray under 2.5. Anytime it's a 2.5, I want to look for a reason to go under. He's been under this mark in 3 straight, 4 of his last 5, showing much better control of late. This is also a day game, so get this in early. Another day game, Zach Gallen over 1.5 at the Giants. About 50% hit rate for Gallen on the year, but over in 4 straight. He's been trending down. Remember, we were on him for the Cy Young, and I'm off it now, but he's been trending down. All 7 right-handed starters against the Giants this month have gone over 1.5 walks. Finally, Chad Kuhl, late game against the Padres. We talked about him with the Nerfy rate against San Diego. I don't like Kuhl. This matchup against San Diego is not good for him. 63% hit rate on the year for Kuhl as well. And the Padres have been a high walk rate team, 5th highest in the last 30 days. 3 of 5 right-handed starters this month have gone over. So Kuhl over 1.5, Gallen over 1.5, Gray under 2.5, plus 356, half a unit on this baby. The walk this way parlay.
Love it, love it, love it. Let's move on. We got a big weekend in golf ahead. So, of course, we're going to bring on our golf expert, Diane Knox, Ballas, as we talk the Open Championship this weekend at the Old Course in St. Andrews. Diane, what's going on?
Hi, guys. I'm sure you can imagine, on cloud 9 this week because not only do we get back-to-back weeks of golf in Scotland, but I have goosebumps when I hear people talking about St. Andrews. I see it on TV. We're going to have coffee golf early tomorrow morning. I'm still trying to figure out what time I'm going to set my alarm for, how little sleep I actually need. But, oh my gosh, it is the best week of the year.
Absolutely. It really is. Absolutely. Well, let's get right to it because there is one guy that is on all of our cards this week. It has to be a big weekend for Rory McIlroy, right? There's a reason he's the favorite. Diane, talk us through Rory and why we're all on him and why we feel like this is his weekend.
I love that we're all on Rory. It's so funny because when he played the way he played on Sunday at the Masters, I wrote down in my little betting notebook, I'm picking Rory to win the Open Championship. And I know I was on him for the RBC Canadian Open, and he's been playing great. I mean, there's no denying the form that we're seeing McIlroy in right now. It's just perfect leading up to this. He skipped the Scottish Open last week and was the only one in the world top 15 to do so. But he obviously thought that his preparation was going to be better off for that. So I love that. He's got the experience of playing around here. He grew up playing links golf, loves links golf. Watching him this week, he seems right at home walking around St. Andrews. And I just think that this is it. I am full. There's 2 guys that keep saying that I'm all in on. So I'm half in on one, half in on the other. But I really, really think that this is going to be a special week for Rory.
Yeah, we'll get to that other guy in a minute because I think I know who you're talking about. But I want to follow up with Rory because when you handicap a major, Diane, it's very different than handicapping the RBC. It's very different than handicapping the Byron Nelson. Like, it's just, there's really only 5-6 guys that can win. And, Rory to me is one of those guys because there's a narrative that goes into this, especially at this course, at this tournament. There is a narrative, there's a charisma, there's a personality. And I'll be honest, I think the karma with Rory, he has been so vocal for the PGA Tour. I called him in my column this week the knight in shining armor, anti-LIV, going literally against players that are in the tournament this week saying, I hope one of these guys doesn't win. Wouldn't you love to see a Brooks-Rory matchup on Sunday in a head-to-head? Like, it's just, and I think the karma and the good vibes are in his corner. The practice rounds with Tiger, knowing this course, like, everything just seems to be lining up for him this week. Narrative, and oh, by the way, his recent form has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think it's really interesting, the Live Golf thing this week, for a couple of reasons. Some big things have happened. Tiger came out and spoke his mind, and he did not hold back. So you have a lot of people who just basically will want to follow Tiger and do what Tiger says. So I thought that was really interesting. Then when Bridgestone dropped Bryson DeChambeau yesterday, Bridgestone have been a long time sponsor of Tiger and of Bryson. So I thought that was a really interesting, like, hey, look who we're sticking with. And then when Greg Norman wasn't allowed to go to the Champions Dinner and was basically told to stay away.
Wow.
I think there's been a lot where this week the rest of the golfing world, i.e. the RNA, the PGA Tour, the players that really move the needle, have said enough's enough. Like, this is now ridiculous. It's almost poisoning what we're trying to achieve out here. And with this being the 150th Open Championship at St. Andrews, the home of golf, we're really talking about that history, that legacy, that prestige, all the stuff that are arguments against Live Golf. So it's already been a fiery week for sure, but I just think, like, it's magical. This week is magical. The course is magical, and I agree with you. It would all tie up perfectly in a nice bow if Rory were to lift the claret jug on Sunday.
Absolutely. Well, Diane, let's just go right into it, because there's a guy that we both really love that he's just come up short so many times that I feel like this could be his weekend. He's never played here before. Will Zalatoris, right? Plus 2,800 to win this thing on DraftKings. You're looking to play him a couple different ways. You have him top 5 at plus 500. I'm looking at him at top 10 plus 292. Will Zalatoris, talking about, just the form he's playing in. I don't need to talk about how he performs at majors. We know that. Just can't seem to get over the hump here. First time playing at Old Course, but did make the cut last weekend, right? Spent a couple extra days in St. Andrews prepping, and look, I just love that he's so dialed in. He said he's never written more notes in his yardage book than he has over the last couple of days here. So he's really locked in, and he wants this thing so bad. This course is also one that I think just plays to his strengths, right? He's strong off the tee, 11th in strokes gained off the tee, 1st in strokes gained tee to green. Putter, still a little sketchy, but every other aspect of his game is really consistent and elite to the point where I feel comfortable backing him at that price. What do you like about Will Zalatoris this weekend?
You say that his putting is sketchy, but I've got a stat that's going to blow your mind. So I don't want to say that, I mean, we've talked about the fact he's finished runner-up Masters last year, US Open, PGA Championship this year. So runner-up in every other major. But I don't want to say he's like the Brooks Koepka of modern day golf, but he's like rising to the challenge on the big stage. So if you look at the 3 other majors of this year, strokes gained putting for Will is plus 17.4. So there's no way that we can say that his putter is a big problem when it comes to the majors. Yeah. But when you look at his 9 other starts this year, strokes gained putting is minus 16.
Oh my God.
Isn't that insane that when you look at how he's playing in the majors and in these big events, that he just turns it up? And it's no surprise that he's had such great finishes. So I mean, that stat to me, as soon as I saw it, it blew my mind. It was amazing. But why I don't have Will on my card to win this week is just because the links experience, the St. Andrews Old Course experience, it's tough. Like, this course is quirky. It's like no other course in the world. You know, the weather plays such a role. They could tee it up on Thursday, and it looks like Thursday, Friday, the wind is going to blow pretty consistently all day. So I don't think we're going to have the case where tee times are going to make a massive difference from morning to afternoon. But the wind might blow, and guys might be thinking, that's a weird place for a bunker. Like, that doesn't come into play. Then the next day, they're like, oh my gosh. And a lot of really hidden bunkers. It's tough. It's quirky. It's one of those courses that you have to be patient around. You have to strategize. You have to really change up a lot of your usual kind of game plan to do well around the Old Course. So I mean, you can't not have him for a top 5 or a top 10, just purely based on his major experience and the fact that putter does get so hot when it comes to these big events.
I might say the wind might be blowing a hoolie this weekend. Ooh. Would we say that? Would we say that, Diane?
That's perfect.
Oh, perfect. I learned from the best. Oh, if you want to get some Scottish terms, your vocabulary up to par with what we might be hearing around the course this week, go check out the Secret Golf podcast, because you guys did a fantastic job quizzing Steve Elkington on some Scottish words around the course, which I was cracking up listening to that last night, Diane. That was absolutely hilarious.
We have a very unique vocabulary.
Oh, I mean, some of the names, and again, ball bag was one of my favorites that kind of got thrown in late. That just means like an idiot. So when I make a bad pick, you guys in the chat can call me a ball bag, and I won't take it too hard. All right, Jordan Spieth is another. Other than Rory, it's really Spieth, and I think that to me is a very interesting handicap on Jordan, who clearly loves playing links golf. He has the flat stick, he has the demeanor, he has the analytical approach to how he's going to, tackle every hole in an individual. I mean, he has the full game to win this week. And I think the price is fair too, because let's be honest, in prior years, he probably is not, if not the favorite, maybe the second or third favorite on the board. He's not this week, a little bit further down. And I do think that offers a little bit of value on Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, you're right. He's got the analytical approach, but he also has the creativity to think on his feet and deal with situations as they arise. And when we saw him win the Open Championship in 2017, that's what happened. All of a sudden he's coming down the stretch and hits his tee ball way off right and has to navigate around the TV trucks, and then obviously he came out victorious. But he has such a good record in the Open. He's never missed a cut in the Open Championship. He has a win. He has a runner-up finish at St. Andrews in 2015, and he just missed his putt on 18 to get into that playoff. And he has another 2 top 10 finishes. But he loves this golf, and I think the creativity around the greens and the putting is what Jordan thrives on, and he sees that as it's such an amazing, unique challenge, especially at the Old Course. So I agree with you. I was between, I'll be honest, Jordan and Justin Thomas. And I thought, I'm not going to pick them both because I already had Rory, and I thought I have to go with one of them. So I typed out everything for both of them and was like, who do I have the stronger argument for? And it was close, but Jordan Spieth at 16-1. I loved. But I mean, what you said at the start is right too. The cream rises to the top when it comes to majors, and it makes golf handicapping hard for these big events, hard and easy, because you're looking at a really small group of guys, but there's so many guys that are playing well right now that you have to narrow it down. And I just think Jordan and that creativity around the greens is going to really push him forward.
I agree.
Yeah, well, Diane, you have a couple other plays on your card. Let's touch on those that we haven't already talked about.
Okay. I love Max Homa. at 60-1. And it kind of goes against my like St. Andrews links experience. But there's a few things about Homa that I love. One, he played really well last week at the Scottish Open and was in contention for a long time. Fell coming down the stretch a little bit, but that's fine. I mean, it's really his first experience of playing this kind of links golf in Scotland. But after he made the cut, he went to a nearby course and played 18 holes of like twilight golf. He's got the passion. I think he's over here in the form of his career. Already 2 wins this season, 4 top 10s, and he's playing with Tiger Woods. And Max admits openly,
it's huge.
He's
I was going to say, what about that Tiger Woods effect for the first,
Yes.
the first couple days?
Yeah.
Big crowds following him. Yeah.
It can be good and bad. My brother, Russell Knox, he played with Tiger Thursday, Friday at Carnoustie a couple of years ago, and it was mayhem. I was working. I was trying to like go and catch up for a few holes, and it was mayhem. And especially Tiger's won, not only won, but dominated for his 2 wins in St. Andrews. But you have to remember that, first of all, Max is a huge Tiger fan. And secondly, he won Tiger's event at Riviera at the start of the year. So already they've got like a little bond. And I don't think he's going to be like showing off for Tiger, but I think it's going to spur him on to be like, hey, listen, like I won his event. I want to show him what I can do out here while we're playing together. So I think it's going to be a good thing for Max.
Yeah, rising tide lifts all boats, right? And especially just because of Tiger's knowledge. And Tiger, we haven't talked about Tiger yet from a betting perspective. I don't think there's much value on him, but he seems to be a lot more open to sharing that assassin knowledge that has made him so successful over the years. He was goofing around with Rory on the putting green. Tiger in general seems to be a much more easier playing partner these days than maybe in prior years when he really thought he was going to win this tournament.
I think easy in practice rounds. I think once game time starts, it's a little bit different. And fair. I think especially this one, we saw him play the Masters. It was nothing great. There was sparks of superbness. And we saw him withdraw before the final round of the PGA Championship, and he didn't play the US Open. So I don't think we're expecting much. I think the win will be if he crosses the Swilcan Bridge on Sunday and plays all 4 days at the Open. I think that's going to be a win for everyone. But this is the one that Tiger's been gearing up for. So I think that he thinks he's going to win. And why wouldn't he? And I love that. So he's going to be in game mode, from the word go on Thursday.
I love Max Homa. He's one of my guys too. But we need Max to stay focused. We don't need Tiger, because everything you're saying about Tiger is true.
It could go the other direction, right, Diane? Like it could hurt him playing with Tiger. Is that possible?
It could. I think it could hurt anyone. I always think that the people it hurts are the group ahead of Tiger, because the fans are rushing to get ahead. So like Tiger could be on the tee, the group ahead could be on the green, and already you've got the swarms of fans heading up towards the green. So I always think that playing the group ahead of Tiger is like the worst place to be.
It's tough.
Awesome. Jared, you want to run through the rest of your card before we get Diane?
Yeah, well, I want to give Diane a chance. Billy Horschel's on your card too this week. And listen, anytime we get a 100+ to 1 long shot based off of what's been happening with your recent betting record, I think we have to really take a strong look at it. And then I love Louis Oosthuizen with the top 10 there, because he's another guy that just, I feel like this course and this tournament and his game is suited for it. So give us your caps on Oosty and Billy. And then I'll give you a couple of props that I'm on this week, and you can fire away on what I've got cooking.
Going back to last week quickly, I almost had the baby when Matty Schmid at 130 to 1 had a 2-shot lead at the start of Sunday. I'm like,
I was freaking out. I should have cashed out the bet. So it was a $25 bet to win $2,000, and I had a chance before the final round to cash out about $600 of it. I should have, but I got greedy and I trusted you, and I should trust. But it was, at the end of the day, it was a $25 bet. It's not like, I'm gonna go to the poorhouse afterwards. But I think I made the right call not cashing it out. But obviously, in hindsight, I should have.
That just shows what final day pressure does in a PGA Tour event. Yes. That guy was all over the place on Sunday. Yeah. I know. Anyway, right. Billy Horschel at 120 to 1. Again, it's hard to pick a dark horse for a major anyway. But then when I saw Billy at 120 to 1, I was really surprised at the odds because, again, this guy is having the best year. I mean, maybe not the best year ever because we saw him win the FedEx Cup, but he won at Memorial not long ago. He's notched up 5 top 10s this season. Brilliant around the green and putting stats. And he has experience playing in St. Andrews. Even last October, he played the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship on the DP World Tour and shot -4 around St. Andrews. If he could do that every day around here this year, then, you know, he's going to be right in the mix. So I love Billy Horschel at 120 to 1. And then Louis Oosthuizen, I got him for a top 10. It was +350, I think. But he won here before. So he's won the Open at St. Andrews. He's finished runner-up as well. And it's hard. He's playing live golf right now. So it's hard to really compare current form and stats. But in the 2 live golf events we've seen, he's finished T5 and T10. So there is some form there. And when you've won the Open at St. Andrews and finished runner-up, and you walk out onto that tee, you have to feel good about yourself. So I think Louis for a top 10, I really liked.
All right, I'll quickly go through my picks because my card, it resembles yours a little bit, Diane, but it's a little bit unique. So I'm on Rory outright. That's my only outright so far pre-flop. I boosted it, so it was 9 to 1 over at DraftKings. I boosted it from 9 to 1 to 12 to 1. And for the math nerds out there, that's basically a 2.5% implied odds boost. And I think it's worth a half a unit pre-flop. And I think I'm going to try to get a better price than 12 to 1 post-flop. We'll see what the Thursday, Friday groupings give us. So I'm on Rory outright. And I think Rory at a top 10 at even odds is very fair. He's played 3 majors this year. He's finished no lower than 8th. So top 10 in all 3 majors. And I'm betting this at MGM. And the reason why, if you have access to MGM, you should bet it at MGM. At MGM is one of the only sports books in town, or at least in Jersey, where the ties pay out full on the top finisher bets. You know, sometimes if they're T8, but there's like 6 guys and it goes below the 10 line, you only get like a portion of your stake back. Not at MGM. It pays out in full. That's why the odds are a little bit less. But I'm willing to decrease those odds because I would rather get the full payout if he finishes T8. And again, you know, there's 14 or 15 guys in the top 10. So I like Rory top 10. And I didn't bet Spieth outright. I think we might get a better price after the tournament starts. But here's the bet I really like on Spieth. For him to beat Scottie Scheffler at plus odds in a head-to-head matchup. Scheffler's never played the Open Championship at St. Andrews, never appeared, and he didn't really play well last week at Scottish. So, Scottie, I mean, again, unbelievable form this year, but is it fair to say that he's peaked and now we're starting to see a little bit of regression with Scottie Scheffler? And Jordan's game, as you detailed, is just perfect for this course. So I thought that was a fair price, plus money for Spieth over Scheffler.
I like that. It's funny because nobody's really talking about Scheffler. I haven't really seen many people backing him to win. And I saw his press conference and he was like, I come here as number 1 in the world, but I don't feel like I'm number 1 in the field this week. And I would agree with that. I think we have seen a little bit of regression, but my God, it was to be expected, wasn't it? Because the guy was just on a heater. So he was never going to be able to sustain that level of play every single time he teed it up. But again, I just think that the experience playing the old course and playing links golf is going to count for quite a lot. But I mean, Morikawa kind of proved that wrong last year when he missed the cut at the Scottish and then went on to win the Open. But I did see something interesting, just quickly talking about Morikawa, that he took out his 5-wood this week and put in a 2-iron because he wants that kind of low trajectory stinger shot, which I thought was a really interesting move. So that says a lot about this week.
All right, and I have 2 first-round leader bets. So I love these first-round leader bets. And I went with the early tee times Thursday, Diane, because now, again, the weather could change in a moment's notice. But it looks like the weather Thursday afternoon will be worse than in the morning. So if you want a first-round leader bet, I would skew to the morning groups. Here are the 2 guys. And again, these are top finishers, not leaders because I don't want the first round leaders. It gets split up so many times. So I went top finishers. Here you go. Cameron Smith in the top 5 at 10-1. I think that, listen, this is a guy that could easily shoot 65 based off of his putting and his win experience in the win. And I got this one. Listen, this one's an assist to your buddy Steve Elkington. I love the left. So fun fact, I'm a lefty. So I love betting on lefties. Robert McIntyre, your fellow Scott, early tee time, one of the earliest, at 9-1 to finish in the top 10 after the first round. And based off Elk's handicap, hot start, good lefty draw, and then hopefully he can sustain it throughout the round. Top 10 at 9-1, not a bad price there, right?
I like that. And as Elk said, and Elk, obviously has played this course for the Open many times before and knows the wind direction. He was like, it's really going to suit McIntyre on the Thursday. The only thing I want, and I love Robert McIntyre, I worry that he puts a little bit too much pressure on himself when he's playing in Scotland. And I picked him last week for the Scottish Open, and that kind of happened. But I worry that, there's a little bit too much expectation and him putting a little bit too much pressure on himself. But my God, I would love to see nothing more than Robert McIntyre out there representing for the Scots.
He doesn't have to win. He just has to have 18 good holes. That's all we need.
I like it.
Well, Diane, thank you as always for joining us and offering your incredible insight. I mean, one of your plays is going to hit, right? That's just kind of what history's doing.
This is your week, Diane.
One of these people you gave out. How about this? Let's hope Rory does it so we all can win. How about that?
I listen. If you were going to bet on one guy this week, you could only make one bet. I would bet Rory. If that was the only bet you could make, like literally, that's the guy I would pick.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Diane. We will be talking to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Have a good weekend. All right, Jared, let's finish this off with our plays of the day. We got any 3-star plays on the website?
Let's take a look. I mean, first of all, I would be treating those Yerfy Nerfies that Mark Lammy has as 3 stars. We actually do, and Mark did put one of the 3-star, one of the Yerfies as a 3-star on the site. So yes, there are. Also, Keith Schmelter, who's done an unbelievable job with his 3-star bets, has a total in the Astros-Angels game. I am absolutely tailing this one because, Keith has been fantastic with the 3 stars, but also I agree with the pick as well. And Luke Lindholm has something for the MLS. I had a fantastic outing, a little Pickswise editorial outing with Luke and Keith Schmelter and Ricky Diamond and Caleb Wolfinger, and, of course, our boss Dan Posner the other night. They're in town for the SBC Summit. It was great to actually meet these guys in person because we talk about them on the show and how great their picks have been. But I got to pick their brains a little bit the other night. So go to the website, read why these fine gentlemen like these picks, but also give them some support because they do a fantastic job picking games. And listen, there's always a face behind the pick. It's harder because they're writing it. They're not on the show like us, but they know their stuff. And I would absolutely support them over there at Pickswise.com.
Absolutely. All right. Well, the poll is in.
What do we got for the results here?
Giolito. That's your guy.
Was it like was it like a landslide?
57%. 57% of the votes. So not a landslide.
So it really wasn't. It was pretty close.
That was my vote. That was your vote. So would you like to re-give the people a handicap that maybe are just tuning in?
We will go Lucas Giolito. And the reason I like that, too, it's the late game, so you guys have plenty of time to get it in. And our editorial team, our video team behind the scenes there with Jacob and Justin can get a little editing done. So Lucas Giolito over 1.5 walks. It's not the late game, an evening game, 7:05 start between the White Sox and the Guardians. 73% hit rate for Giolito this year. If you widen that sample size, it's 60%. And this series has been tight. Cleveland, Chicago, Minnesota. Those 3 teams in the American League Central are separated by just 4 games, the Tom Brady 4 in the loss column. We are going to see nip and tuck baseball in the American League Central in the second half. I have no idea who's going to win that division. It is up for grabs for sure. But what it's meant is this series between Chicago and Cleveland, which has been now the 4th game today, all 3 White Sox starters have gone over 1.5 against the Guardians lineup that is kind of average walk rate this year. So it's telling me that these playoff baseball is starting to seep into the mindset of these hitters. And I think that vibe continues today. And of course, Tony La Russa, the wild card here, the random intentional walk on an 0-1 count against Jose Ramirez a couple of days ago. Those walks count. So if Tony decides to just give Jose first base again today, I'll gladly take the freebie. But even without that, I think Giolito goes over 1.5, laying just 5 cents at DraftKings. It's the people's play of the day. Enjoy it. Democracy wins.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Because I'm a glutton for punishment, and if you've been watching this show long enough, you know that statement could not be more true. I'm going with the Yankees run line tonight, right? Like, hurt me again. Hurt me again. It's a little juicy, actually, minus 165, but I actually think that's a fair price. When you look at who's on the bump for the Reds today, Mike Minor has not been sharp at any point so far this season. 6.63 ERA, 142 WHIP. And when you dive deeper into those road splits, the numbers are even worse. So I'm looking at this Yankees lineup. I think that they're going to come out inspired, and Mike Minor's not a good matchup for them. And then you got Severino on the bump for the Yankees today, and he's just out of his mind. So I think the Yankees run line is a very, very strong play, despite laying 65 cents. I think that's a good play for tonight. You tell me though. You're the math nerd. 65 cents here. Smart play.
I mean, it's a pretty big play. It's a big number, but if you want to talk motivate, like, this is a very important game for the Yankees psyche. Because I've been a fan for so long, I've watched these games, and I've watched especially the playoff games. The Yankees get tight. Things get tight in October, and the loosey-goosey home runs, they just don't come in bunches. Now, it's not October. It's still July, and it's the Reds. So, yes, July, they should. Yeah, but I'm just, like, to me, the mindset, though, after they lost the game like they did last night, is a playoff must-win mindset today. And we'll see how much, if they grip that bat just a little bit tighter. Stanton's numbers against Minor have been fantastic. I was looking at him for a walks prop today because Stanton has, it's like a 20% walk rate against Stanton in his career against Mike Minor. Because remember, they played against each other a lot when Stanton was on the Marlins and Minor was on the Braves. So a lot of experience there. It's tough for me to lay that much juice on a run line. But this is the day that the Yankees should score 10 runs and bust out of whatever happened last night. But we'll see. We'll see if they're snake bitten again, because I thought the run line was going to hit last night too, and it didn't. So who knows?
It was all good until it wasn't. All right, well, that'll do it for us today. For Jared, I'm Alex. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Good luck with all your plays tonight. Yankees, don't hurt me tonight. Please, please don't hurt me.